Hi, this is Sean Peterson with Buckeye Risk Services, congratulating my friends Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson on the 400th episode of the Independent Dealer Podcast. Buckeye has been a proud title sponsor of the podcast for many years. Luke and Jeff have done such a fantastic job in providing invaluable content to dealers to help them be better. Jeff, Luke, keep up the good work. We look forward to supporting you on 400 more.
Hey, this is Chris with Cherokee Auto Sales in Knoxville, Tennessee, talking about the Independent Dealer Podcast. When I first got into this business, I felt like I was on an island, figuring things out the hard way. Then I found the Independent Dealer Podcast and everything shifted. I've listened to every episode, connected with Luke and Jeff. I've joined a 20 group and started learning what it really takes to succeed, especially in Buy Here, Pay Here. The conference is game-changing. I've met incredible dealers, built real relationships, and picked up strategies that directly impacted our bottom line. This podcast and community have been the best investment in my business, hands down, especially since it's free.
Hi everyone, Robin Birkinshaw here from BlitzPay. Wanted to give a quick shout out to the Independent Dealer Podcast. Congratulations on such an incredible milestone, 400 episodes. Wanted to shout out Jeff and Luke and tell them thanks for not only bringing conversations to the industry, but for finding solutions and new ways forward. Thanks for everything you do to support BlitzPay. You have been great partners and leaders in the industry, and we just appreciate you. Cheers to the next 400.
Hey everyone, it's Matt from Raise Motors down in Florida. I just wanted to give a big congratulations to Luke and Jeff. Man, 400 episodes of the Independent Dealer Podcast. That is an awesome milestone. You've built something that really makes a difference for dealers like me. I've learned so much from the podcast, from leadership to collections to just real world dealer to dealer talk that you don't hear anywhere else. Congrats again, guys. I'm proud of you both. Proud to call you friends, and here's to the next 400. Take care, guys.
Hi, Bill Nealon here from TaxMax. Congratulations, Jeff and Luke, on your 400th episode with the podcast. It's great what you guys do for the industry. We've been advertising with you guys for 4 or 5 years now, and now I'm actually one of your religious viewers. Every Thursday morning I watch every episode all 52 weeks of the year. I can't wait for your 500th episode. But once again, congratulations for all that you do for the Buy Here, Pay Here industry. As well as the retail industry. And once again, thank you very much. Congratulations.
Hey, this is Marshall Zerner from the Pacific Northwest with Freeman Motor Company, giving a shout out to Jeff and Luke from the Independent Dealer Podcast. Just want to say that I really appreciate them and their diligence and their determination to keep the podcast going every week, in and out, no matter where they're at, being at conventions or at their dealership or other people's dealerships, bringing in vendors, bringing in really good guests, and just giving us really good, useful information from all different places across the United States. We love it. I love hearing from them. I love being a part of it when they so allow me to. Thank you guys so much. Keep it going.
Hey guys, I'm here at the airport in Atlanta. I found a quiet corner and I wanted to congratulate you on 400 episodes. Thank you for all you do for independent dealers. You are the epitome of entrepreneurs because you found a void in the marketplace and you filled it with great content and just important education that all dealers need. So I appreciate you and I look forward to 400 more episodes. Congratulations.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of the Independent Dealer Podcast. Luke, do you know why this is special?
I think I do, Jeff. You and I are together, and it's always special when we're together.
It is an anniversary, my friend. We have hit a milestone.
400. Can you believe it's 400?
No, I cannot. It honestly feels like yesterday.
It's wild. I mean, I never thought we would get this far. Never. And I was talking to somebody the other day and said that we had been doing this for 7 years, and they gave me some statistic like 90% of podcasts don't make it past the 3rd episode.
Oh yeah, I 100%. I know a lot of people that have started them, and I've given them advice. I've told them what to do, technical wise and mentally wise. And sure enough, I check back in with them a month later, 2 months later, done.
It's something like
90% don't make it to 3 episodes, and then 95% don't make it to 10 episodes. And then it's like the rest of us are going still.
We are a statistical anomaly and oblivious to the fact that nobody cares. So that's good. It bodes a lot. And to that point, Luke, here's the other thing. We haven't missed a week. We had 1 week that I remember that was a rerun, where we took like a best of episode, but we've never reran an actual full episode, and
Nope.
we've never not had original content to some degree, even if it's just, sometimes we get on and spitball with some nonsense similar to today.
What's funny is sometimes I get texts after those nonsensical episodes. They were like, "Man, that was great." And you're like, "Did you listen to this week's, or did you listen to another week?" And just
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I think some people just like to. It's refreshing may not be the word, but it's it's a habit of always listening to the same thing, and I get into those podcast times where I habitually listen to the same people over and over because it's part of my weekend. That's what I do, and I appreciate everybody that's done that for all that time.
Yeah, it's really fun to get the feedback of dealers that say, "Hey, you guys are in my ear every single Thursday on the way to the auction. I'm learning." And I get it. Like you said, Luke, I've got podcasts that I come in and out of, right? I have some that I'm really hot on for a couple months, I really
Yeah.
enjoy, and then I fizzle out or I get too busy. Or maybe they change their format or something happens. So those that do tune in and listen to us, seriously appreciate it. It's pretty wild that there is anyone still listening at this point.
Yeah, and all by them listening and them requesting us to speak places, it's really opened up what we're able to do. We're able to go to different conferences, meet all these people. So it's really I really thank them for that, for giving us the opportunity to do things other than this.
Yeah. So let's break down a little bit more. I want to bring some reflection on the past 400 episodes. Luke, what are some of the things that what would you say are some of the lessons learned? What have you personally learned over the last 400 episodes that kind of stick out to you? Maybe some of the best advice or most memorable interviews?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm kind of a one side a this is the way it has to be done type of dealer, buy here, pay your store, right?
Mm.
And I believe that my way is the best. But after interviewing all these people and talking to everybody at conventions and wherever, one of the biggest lessons I've been taught is that there are so many ways to do what we do and so many ways to do the car business. And what you think that wouldn't work at all, people have been extremely successful at. And
Mm.
and it's just really interesting to see that my way is not the only way. There are a bunch of other ways that make a lot of money, and that's very interesting.
Yeah. And on the flip side of that, what I find too is a lot of us, you and I have exposure to a lot of dealers. We've interviewed hundreds of dealers, and I sometimes get it's easy to become jealous almost of other
Yeah, yeah,
dealers. And some of these guys, great, have done it super well. And I look at them and I say, man, we interviewed you, you know, 3 years ago, and you were just starting out, and now you're 3 times the size of what I'm doing, and you're incredibly successful. And I'm so happy for you because you were just a rocket ship. And those
yeah.
ones are really, really cool. And on the flip
Mhm.
side, there's other ones where we have interviews and we think, man, this guy's got it all figured out. This organization's going to go to the moon. And then they
It
don't.
explodes. Yeah, it explodes. And we've had several people on the podcast who have fantastically exploded. and and that's just part of the car business, right? And it's part of any business. You look, one of my favorite podcasts is Acquired, and they had Sam Bankman Fried on, several years ago, talking about how great he was. And that
Yeah.
joker's rotting in jail now, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's funny how all those things can happen. And I'm actually at a dealer this week that we had on the podcast several years ago, huge dealer. And I'm in there today and I'm going, oh man, oh man. And it's just interesting how those type of things, how the yin and the yang, and then sometimes just the spectacularly unproductive businesses still stay in business.
Yeah. We've seen a lot of that lately, and that's probably one of the biggest I don't know, man. I'd say stamps on this era of what we're going through right now is the number of implosions and the handful that are struggling, and some of our good friends that won't be in business this time next year,
Yeah.
out of no fault of their own sometimes, just out of bad timing, bad relationships, turning economies. It's going to be an interesting mile marker when we say 400 episode, and then we check back in at 450 or 500 and to
Yeah.
look back on this one and see where it changed.
Yeah. I mean, that's, another one of the things that we talk about interest costs and leverage, but probably when we started all this, I was thinking, man, I need to get some leverage so I can grow huge. And man, I am so glad that my dad and I decided not to get leverage,
Mm,
because that has turned out to be most people's death, and it will be over the next year, 2 years.
yeah, which is interesting. So when we say lessons I've learned, and I look back on just the last 100 episodes or so because we've done this before, but if I go back to episode 384, we interviewed Eric Ryan, and he was incredibly open and just vulnerable about what was going on with them just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And the failure of that dealership and the bank lines getting pulled. And so right around, minute marker 19 or so, um, man, you just really feel what it would have been like to be in that situation where he talks about going through a divorce, having their COO booted or kind of left, and he steps into this failing dealership that's trying to pay off one bank line with another and just sees this downward spiral. And there's not much you can do in these situations because the larger car market, interest rates, and bank relationships and those bank decisions, they override anything you could do. If you say, hey,
Yeah.
give me some time, I'm going to dig out of this. All I need is 2 years and this market's going to turn around. And they don't have that kind of patience. And he didn't get that luxury to flip the ship around because there's just no patience with a lot of banks. And so you really felt
Yeah.
that, I think, in episode 384.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, and dealers feel that when we have guests on that are real vulnerable, right? And really tell us how they feel at a certain time. Other dealers can, look back on that at times and maybe get through a tough period. And we hope that's what these, dealers are listening, do when they're in that spot.
So, Luke, what would you say on looking back on the 400 episodes? Is there anything you feel like you got wrong or we got wrong? Like, I mean, I'd have to go into AI and really ask it these questions because I'm sure
Oh man.
there's probably a lot of people listening. You've got a lot of stuff we say that you're like, what the hell are you guys thinking? Anything stand
Yeah,
out to you?
multiple things, Jeff. The first thing, and I'm sure I said this because I was saying it everywhere, but when the prices of cars peaked during COVID, or when they were peaking, um, I used a word I think that was in vogue at that time, and I said, "Man, this is transient. Don't go out and buy inventory. This is going to last 90 days. It's going to come back down, and we can keep going." Well, for probably about 6 months, I didn't buy inventory. I didn't buy fresh inventory, and I told a lot of people out there not to buy fresh inventory. Hopefully, they didn't listen to me, because prices didn't come down for years. And so if you sat there with your hands in your pocket like I did, I missed a lot of sales during that time.
Mm.
And I think that was something I really got wrong.
I remember that episode we talked about you would cut off all your advertising. You just shut it all off
Shut it
in the
off,
sake
shut
of
it down.
saving money. And that's an easy one because you can flip that back on. You can flip a switch and put all your advertising dollars back out there for the most part, with very little impact. But I do
Yeah.
remember we had that argument of like, wait, do we double down now or do we not? And you were a little more
Yeah,
on
I
the
was
brakes.
yeah, I was hitting the brakes. And then I did see though quickly that uh cars were selling. And so
Mm.
I bought a bunch of cars when they were stupidly cheap. Like I did. I went out and I just bought them. And we didn't really even have to turn our advertising back on because we were the only ones with cars. And so we were able, stopping the advertising wasn't stupid. But after that period where cars started to creep up in price, I should have just kept buying because there was so much money in the economy. We could have, even though we were paying extra money for those cars, they would have collected out. And we talked about that last week with Blake. That was some of the best static pools we saw because people had all this money coming in from every which way. So I just wish I would have kept buying maybe for like, I wish I wouldn't have stopped buying for those 6 months. I wish I'd just kept buying through those because I think it would have worked out.
Yeah. One thing I'd say on the recent charge-off situation and the immigration crackdowns, I'd always been pretty adamant in the past that we only did people with socials, right?
Hmm.
And for so many years of my buy here, pay here, we didn't strongly cater to the Hispanic community or undocumented, ITINs, things like that. And we got into that a little bit more since COVID, right? We were a little more aggressive. We were financing people with ITINs and things like that. And it has come back to bite me a little bit, not to the large degree like a Tricolor or some of these other folks that are closer to the border are really, struggling with folks that have taken cars south and disappeared or self-deported or any of these other things. So sticking to my underwriting guidelines a little bit, because this is exactly what
Yeah.
happened in 2008 when the housing crisis happened. A bunch of cars went south, and I remember those lessons very well. And so we didn't do it to the degree that we did in the past, but I have had some cars go south of the border, and I won't get them back.
Yeah. I was listening to Paul Tudor Jones this morning on CNBC, and he was talking about how this is very reminiscent of the '08 timeframe with the
Mm,
market, which is interesting. You bring that up today. I've never done Hispanics. Like, it's just not my
mhm,
market. There are other people in my town that do it and do it well. I
mhm.
wish I would have leaned into that a little more along the way.
Yeah. And the other one I think you should have leaned into is the EV tax credit,
I
because we
should
talked
have
about
leaned into
this
that.
and you
Yes,
kind of looked
yes.
at it like, oh, that's cute, you do that. But
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
fan, you carry that, you could have carried it. Maybe your market is not as EV friendly as maybe mine is out here.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. But um that was been a great program for me. I could have done twice as many, especially here near the end. So it was good for my cash flow. I think I probably filed, I'm almost to $700,000 in EV credits that we'd filed up into the deadline. So that was a
Wow.
lot of cash for my buy here, pay here customers that I didn't have to put on the street.
Yep.
So that's been a nice down payment bump, let's say, or cash I didn't have to put on the road.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure that I told you something to the effect when you were talking about that. I was like, you are you're worried about something that's kind of shiny out there, and you're forgetting about your core business. And I
And I
said,
could have. I definitely could have.
and so that was yeah, I was wrong. You were right.
What's interesting, so when I go back to episode 377, this was when we were talking about, a bunch of things that are happening in the industry and what we're dealing with. But we talked about kind of what I call SaaS creep, which is where these software companies that we all are a part of start creeping into other people's domains and other people's areas. And
Hmm.
that's one that really kind of hit home to me and was a pretty good hit with the listeners that listen to it, because it's such a good opportunity for savings right now. And I think it's kind of unrecognized. A lot of dealers look at like, what program can I cut? What salespeople can I cut? How can I save some money this month because things are slow or I'm just nervous for the future? So instead of just shutting off your advertising, what a good thing to do is audit your software companies and say, hey, can I combine two software companies into one? Has my current relationship with this SaaS product built out a new feature where, oh my goodness, they have an integrated booking tool now. I don't need a standalone booking tool anymore because for an extra $200 a month, I can just add theirs. So
Yeah,
that's been really interesting and something I'm going to keep looking into.
I think, and we've talked about software so much over the years, and I think you have a little better handle on software when it comes to how everything works than I do. But uh, you've been so right about how so many different softwares do the exact same thing,
Mm,
and we have to be attentive to that. And I think it comes down to talking to our vendors, is going to these going to conventions and talking to them and figuring out exactly what they do. And
mm,
now, which is even more interesting, you can use AI on the back of a lot of the software you already have to really create a powerful tool, and maybe able to get rid of some of the tools you're using that are doing something you could build on your own.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Is there any other moments you feel like you missed before we transition over to some
Oh
of the things
man,
we're looking forward to?
This is a good one, Jeff. This is a real good one here.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure when Carvana stock hit $2 a share, I said, and you can go back, I'm not sure what episode that is, but you can go back. I'm pretty sure I said, man, it has more likelihood of going to 0 than it does to 10. How much is Carvana stock today?
Well, it's at 374. 375 actually. It just bumped up because
Oh
people
my
you said that.
gosh.
So yeah, this was probably right in 2023, January of 23 till about June of 23. It dropped down to about $4 or $5 a share. That's that would have been a pretty good return.
Yeah, I can't do the math on that
Who'd have thought?
times, but that's like 10,000 times, but not really. It's holy moly. I was so wrong on that. And I perceive myself to be a very good stock picker and understand business very well. And I 100% missed that one, Jeff. I still can I'm not going to say I'm wrong yet. No, I'm wrong at the stock price. Okay. I'm not sure I'm wrong about the business. Um,
Well,
and that'll shake out. I just don't what they claim they are making per unit sold. I see what they're buying the cars for, and it's really close to retail. And I see what they're selling the car for because I can see what they're asking for it on their website. Those numbers don't math. That math don't math. And so at some point, I think I'm gonna prove to be right at some point. I'm just not there yet.
yeah, that you gotta sometimes you look at the jockey and not the horse in this situation. This may be less of like the horse is able, but the horse is actually on the jockey. And I think the Garcias have proven that they
Yeah,
know how to financially make things happen.
yeah,
And I think they sold a lot of stock at the peak, from what I
yeah,
hear, and they bought a lot
yeah.
back. And that's easy to do when you're hitting all times high and all times low, and you're a wise person that can time those
And,
things. So,
and
anyways,
yeah, and you know what's interesting is that it may prove out that, and you see it in the franchise side that people are just these big conglomerates are eating up everybody, right? And
mm,
what we're seeing now in the independent space, especially in the buy here pay here space, the availability of capital is getting harder and harder and harder. And when that happens, people like Carvana and CarMax and some other publicly traded institutions are able to use that public money to kind of grab market share, and they're going to keep grabbing market share. And so we may see a point where I don't think the feds would ever get involved in a monopoly type situation here because I don't think they will. But it's going to make it harder for the smaller dealer to survive without capital, without personal capital, and not access to public capital.
yeah, absolutely. It washes out a lot of people, which is not good. Not good for the moms and pops, not good for the buy here, pay here's. You can't get into this business organically anymore. It's almost
Right.
impossible to get traction in buy here, pay here when you're using your own profits. It's
Mhm.
just it's been, it's hard. It's hard to get started. I know we know guys who have lifted themselves up on their bootstrings, but I don't even know if that's possible now in the 2020s, 2025s.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I want to mention one more thing that I missed before we move on, which is, it's a tough thing, Luke. You and I have talked to and heard everything.
Probably.
I mean, if there's any dealers that should be wildly successful in this business, it would be two guys who have talked to and heard everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me to sometimes say, yeah, I probably know what I should be doing. I probably know how to do it. I've probably heard how to do it. I've probably talked to a dealer who's done it and I could replicate that same model. But guess what? 20 years later, I'm still selling 30 to 50 cars a month and still operating the way I'm operating. So it's really interesting. And what that illustrates for me is there's knowing how to do it and there's doing it. And
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest differentiator between some of, and if that's your goal, we talk about that a lot. It's okay if it's not your goal to be big. It's okay if it's not your goal to sell 200 cars a month. It's okay. You can make a really good living selling 30 cars a month, no problem, and have a good lifestyle balance too. But it's the execution. And that's the difference, right? Those dealers that have shot for the moon, they've made relentless execution and just been fearless in taking out the line of credit if they had to, getting a flooring line, buying cars, stocking inventory, training their salesmen, fixing their processes, just executing. So we can
Yeah.
all hear it. We can listen to podcasts every Thursday for 35 minutes, but it's those that execute that make all the difference.
And it's executing at the right time.
Some of that's
And
dumb luck.
it's dumb luck. And you bring this up a lot. You know, there are very smart dealers we talk to that do really well. And then there's very smart dealers that we talk to that have bad timing. And so timing and execution, you can shoot for the moon. Bad timing and bad timing and good execution is not very good. But you can have good timing and bad execution and do fine. So it is funny to see those things happen, and we've seen it a lot.
Yeah. So, Luke, let's transition to looking ahead. You know, I don't know that we're going to do another 400 episodes.
I hope so. I hope to see another 400 episodes, buddy.
It'll just be me and you, just old guys talking to nobody. Like, we're not even hitting record anymore. We're just like
that would be like, we would be, at that point, if we do 400 more episodes, that'd be a total of like 15 years.
Yeah. I'm not going to live that long. I'm pretty confident with my diet.
That's
Ooh, yeah, it's not happening. You're going to be talking to the AI version of me. What do you see going on though? I mean, obviously we talk about credit cycles, and this is, again, not to beat a dead horse, but as credit tightens, which is what we love. When you say, when the guy on CNBC says today is reminiscent of 2008, the difference with 2008, and speaking specifically for buy here, pay here dealers, is you had a really quick drop, a really quick hit. You hit the bottom overnight almost. And a lot of good people ended up with bad credit basically overnight. And then 2010 was a great build out, right? We had good customers with bad credit. We had a ton of repos. Cars were really cheap. We didn't know how good we had it in 2010.
right. Yeah.
This has been a slow drag to the bottom, in my opinion. Not quite the same, but eventually there will be a bottom. We don't know how deep that looks. We don't know how many people are going to be pushed into our demographic, the good people with bad credit scenario. Banks get tighter, lenders get tighter. We lose a bunch of those subprimes that aren't just going to touch the 500 credit scores anymore. What happens to us? I mean, is that the golden age again?
Well,
or are cars just too expensive now?
so ever since like 2015, every time you go somewhere, the old timers are talking about how great it was in 2010, right? And they're talking about, oh, it's going to be next year, it's going to happen. All these banks are pulling out of subprime. It's going to be our time to shine again. Man, I've been hearing this for 10 years. It may happen. It may happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's so much cash in the to invest by these big credit houses that they're going to continue to buy subprime, and these new car dealers are so dependent on subprime sales and selling used cars that I don't think we're going to see it again. But that doesn't mean there's not really good money to be made in the buy here, pay here space, in the subprime retail space, by dealers that do it the right way and have their own capital, reinvest their own capital in their dealerships. You can't build these things with other people's capital. And the more that happens, the more we're going to see dealers go out of business. So I don't see the golden age of buy here, pay here, or the golden age of subprime retail coming back anytime soon.
Interesting. And it seems like the biggest piece to that puzzle to me, and maybe I'm looking at this too simply, but back in the day when you did borrow money from an institution, you were still paying 15%, right?
Yeah.
But you had the same interest spread as we do now. The difference
bigger
is we
margins.
had a larger margin.
Yeah.
And we just don't have that anymore, where we used to consistently collect, whatever it is, 5 to 6 grand markup, plus you'd have another 5 to 6 grand on the back end in interest. And that was on a
Yep.
$5,000 car. So
Yeah.
your capital investment and your return towards your cash investment over the course of that 36 months was great. Repos were somewhere in the same area for the most part, depending on the time period.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we've lost, I feel like, that spread where now I'm selling an $8,000 or $10,000 car. So I'm selling twice as much cash in car, and I'm still maybe making the same gross margin on twice as much cash invested. So basically my
The
ROI is cut in half.
The interest is doubled. The interest expense is doubled.
It's still healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. And the margin is half.
Yeah.
And so it's a perfect storm. So it's all about your own money.
And I don't
That's
know
all it's
that'll
about.
change. That might not change.
I don't see how it could. I don't see how you can have deflationary cost of cars. I don't. I mean, to a point they can deflate, but they can't. They can't deflate back to where they were prior to that, just because of the sheer cost of what it takes to manufacture a car.
Yeah. It's the cost to manufacture, and it's the cost of parts and availability. And that
Yeah.
will take, if it ever shakes through the system. I mean, there's just, you look at used cars, there's not a plethora of parts out there that are cheap that I can rebuild and get a cheap car. Stuff pretty much drops off and it's gone. It's worthless. So yeah, the basic fundamentals and building blocks are not there. And then, so unless we have some sort of a drastic change in the economy or the business model of vehicle ownership, whatever that is,
That's
a tough road with little spurts of excitement, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, and that's what you're talking about. I think we're going to see a new business model. I think is what we're going to see. Um, based on the same fact that subprime people need cars, it's just going to be a different business model.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else looking forward, Luke?
I think that the good dealers doing it the right way are the ones that are going to be successful. I know that's a simple thing to say, but you can't just get into this business and buy a car for $10 and sell it for 20 and think that's the business model.
And I feel like what happens is, maybe I'm wrong, and this could be one of those things that we put a little note on, little paperclip. The business model itself and being a hybrid, I'm looking to sell cars through any avenue possible. And I've got an in-house bank, and I've got Subprime, and I've got all the banks and credit unions also for my prime buyers. I am a buy here, pay here, but I am honestly 50-50 nowadays with how I finance cars, because I'm looking to get everybody into a vehicle regardless. And it's hard to be everything to everyone, but I can't get enough good buy here, pay here cars to do that. I don't want to lose a good buy here, pay here customer once they rebuild their credit and move on. I've got a reputation in my community where I can sell a Tesla or a nice Denali or something, and the buyers still come to me because of our image. So I don't know if that's the future of the dealership, where we're looking for all avenues of financing, all avenues of vehicles, or maybe, I don't know. I think that might be, I don't think it's going away. We're going to be selling cars, private ownership, for the rest of my life. Now, my kids and my kids' kids, I don't know about that,
Yeah.
Like you said, it may be a whole new business model, which is ride sharing, or, autonomous fleets, or, individual car ownership is only for the elite that have their own private test tracks and drive in separate carpool lanes. Who knows what that's going to bring in 50 years. But I think for our lifetime, we're still going to be selling and financing cars.
Yeah. And I want to tell everybody out there, it's like, what's one thing you can take from what we talk about all the time, and it's have a good business plan, Jeff, and use as much of your money to build a great business, not someone else's. I just want to keep saying that, because I see it all the time where this is getting dealers in trouble, and I don't want dealers in trouble.
And so what they can do in that situation is they can rewind and say, I don't need I can run a dealership. If I love cars and I love selling vehicles, I can run a business model that's not dependent on leverage,
Yeah.
right? I can do
It-
30 cars a month. Can I scale this down to 20 cars a month that I can do with my own cash, and maybe I do a couple subprime, right?
Yeah.
The only reason why I'm stuck on this debt cycle is because I think I need to sell 100 buy here, pay here's or 50 buy here, pay here's.
Yeah, I think if you're getting started, and you save up $10,000, well, you figure out how to turn that 10,000 into 20,000, right? And it might be selling 5 cars a month, and it might be you on your own doing it. So I think there's always these avenues to build up, other than getting heavily in debt and putting your future at risk.
Yeah. And like you said, building other people's businesses, financially risky, at the
Mhm.
expense of your own, right? The financial
Yeah.
risk of your own business. It's a tough thing to balance. Luke, it's great, man. 400 episodes. Look forward to 400 more, even if you're just cruising around a wheelchair. Buy here, pay here wheelchairs. That'll be Luke's. That'll be where he pivots.
Oh no! Well, those little walker things.
Yeah, little jazzies or hoverboards. You'll be financing for all the old folks at the old folks home.
That's funny. No, I really appreciate you coming to me, Jeff, and getting us started in this. It's been very rewarding for me, and hopefully rewarding for the dealers that listen. Um, I plan to do it for another 400 episodes.
All right, let's do it. Sounds good.
All right. See you,
Okay,
bud.
see you at 401.